Welcome to tonight's show, and we're going to be talking about the NCAA Commission on African American Affairs. I was like, man, am I ever going to get through saying the A? Thought it was like an Alcohol Anonymous group or something. Anyway, I wanted to bring this up. A quarterly meeting will be held on Wednesday, October 22nd from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. So I just wanted to break this down for you. Now, this is the commission that we've heard all this confusion and discussion on. The attorney, well, not the attorney general, but what's his name? Can't even think of it right now. Um, that did the state auditing of the group, and he gave his comments. They had almost all of the board was um, kicked off, resigned, whatever, and Pillin put in this new board. And we'll go over to the website and I kind of show you that. Also, there was rumored that two people might be joining the board, and that would be Ben Gray and Willie Barney. Well, so far that hasn't happened. Hopefully, it will never happen. But anyway, let's get back to breaking down this Commission on African American Affairs. Um, as I said, the quarterly meeting will be held this time in Omaha, Nebraska from 3 to 7. So let's get into this, and I want to break down a few items, beginning with the agenda. And we'll try and bring that up. Okay, here's the agenda. And I had to ask for that because it wasn't online as it should have been. Actually, there hadn't been anything pretty much updated to that agenda or to that website since back in July. So here's the minutes meeting. Nebraska Commission on American Affairs. September 12th. This was held in Nebraska City, Nebraska. So here we go. Nothing really. Here's what I noticed. What did you notice? Anything worthwhile? Well, let's take a deeper dive into it. So this meeting was called to order at 9:12 a.m., noticing the presence of a quorum of 8. They went through briefing of the new statute, changes on the commissioner's authorizing statute, that means LB 69, which took effect on September 3rd. Then they went into executive session to allow for discussion on the internal surveys about the commission with the commission's strategy planning consultant. And then that was over. So they ended the executive session, came back. Now you got to remember, if you were going to attend, is this something that you wanted to go into? So they came out, entered the executive session, went back, recessed. I mean, look at this. This is a joke. Then, okay, they reconvened after the recess, reconvened at 3:00 p.m. The chair clerk briefed the commissioners on the opening of the executive committee nominations, and discussed the sponsorship of the Omaha NAACP Branch Chapter Freedom Banquet, which will be November 1st. This will be at a level of $5,000. Okay, I don't have a problem with that. Wherein the National Nebraska Commission of African American Affairs, which is committed to the social, political, and economic uplift of the Black community. And whereas they talked about November 1st banquet for the NAACP. Resolved that the Nebraska Commission of African American Affairs approves the disbursement of $5,000 to fund a sponsorship for the Omaha NAACP. They voted, carried none. Treasurer's report. A motion was made to approve the office lease. Okay. This went on. Now, discussion on committee findings and board team building exercises. Discussion of commissioner findings and ask the commissioners to share the two things about the individuals they lunched with and what they felt their reasons were for joining the commission. And then it was adjourned. Will you show me what came out of that other than a bunch of hula squabbly doobly duff, and they spent $5,000? A whole lot of nothing. So here is the agenda for the meeting on Wednesday, October 22nd, 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. Now, 3 p.m., that means if you're working where most people don't get off till 4, 5, 5:30, 6 o'clock. But here they're going to begin at 3 p.m. So, oh man, this is really being big. This is really helping the community because we're making this possible for the community to attend. 3 o'clock p.m. Now, that's is not bad enough, as here you go and look at the agenda, will you? Is this going to make you want to participate? 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you got to take off from work, roll call, public comments, approval of the minutes, which I just showed you, which was about nothing, the chairman's report, Tim Clark, finance committee report, and sponsorship criteria, Department of Administrative Services, MOA, the strategic planning update, and the legislative committee report. Oh, then you break for dinner and commissioners' headshots. Now, you don't get no break. You don't get this dinner. That's not for you. That's for the commissioners. Then you have the commission's elections, Tim Clark. And then the new business is Nebraska Black Elected Leadership Exchange, which, what the hell is that? And then executive director search, because yes, you got it, they still don't have a director. All that malarkey, all that public, everything, and they're still. What are these folks doing? Nothing to promote, as they said, being there for the social, economical, political of Black African Americans in Nebraska. This is a freaking joke. And so this is what they want you to come to attend at 3 p.m. in the afternoon till 7 p.m. And you don't get any participation other than the public comment section. So that's it for that. Now, I wanted to go back to show you something here. And let's see if we can pull it up. It'll take a minute because I wanted to go to the website because, well, I'll let you make your own judgment on it. So let's take, um, as they like to have at the recess, and we'll pull that up. Okay, so we're here at the Nebraska, and I love you got to go through this Commission for African American Affairs. How long have they had this? So let's just break this website on down. Take action. What action? Watch this. Join our campaigns. Stay tuned for our upcoming surveys and campaigns. Check back later. Okay. Attend our quarterly public meetings. View the public meetings. Here we go. Now, until I requested this September wasn't there. So I had to request that today. There's no excuse for this, folks. If you posted the agenda a week ago, then you ought to have the minutes in there. There was no meeting agenda. That was just done today. So that's the reason why I'm just doing this video today, because there was nothing there. But I wanted to go back. Check this out. This is the July 29th, 2025 meeting minutes. Here's another joke. And I have to say, because that's the way I feel about it, this is just a joke, and they ought to be ashamed of themselves. Okay? Public comment. The meeting was called to order. There was spoke on the role of the Department of the Administrative Services. That was the public comment. Motion to approve. Then they had elections for the committees. Chairman's report. Chairman Clark began by going through the prepared onboarding packet detailing the mission, the vision, and the goals of the commission, its organizational structure, bylaws, members' policy, meeting procedures, and other administrative elements. Following that, he also shared resolutions that had been adopted by the executive committee in the interim. Chairman Clark also gave an update on the audit and the goals of the commission in resolving the issues raised in that investigation. So, where's that at, folks? Shouldn't that be outlined here in the minutes? Because if those who hadn't followed that, how would you know what the issues were raised in that investigation? Why wouldn't you have it in the minutes? But these people are so good because here, oh, let's go into a recess, dinner break. But they don't understand. What about the public who might be coming to the meetings? Where do they get their dinner break? So then they return. Now, Commissioner Nisbet presents the financial reports from January to July, noting that the Appropriation Commission approved the rollover of the commissioner's balance to the next fiscal year. Shouldn't there be something in here where we would know what this is? How much money? Question. Okay. So then we move along They go along, they make a motion, approve this financial committee report, and there's no report. The public, where do we see the report at? Anyway, they go ahead. Abstaining, Commissioner Jackson. Okay, no nays. Strategic Planning Committee report. A strategic planning retreat has been organized to take place at the Lead Lodge. Okay. And then here it is. Whereas the Nebraska Commission on African Affairs is committed to the development and future of the agency, and they have contracted for the services of a consultant to development of a strategic plan and on bullcrap. They approved the expenditure of $1,800 for the meeting package prepared by the Lead Lodge. I tell you, that's all they do. Recess, approve minutes, food, packages. But where is this committed to the development and future of the agency? Okay. I tell you, it's an absolute joke. Whereas the Nebraska Commission on African American Affairs is committed to the development. Okay. All they did, they approved the expenditure of the $1,800. Here we go with new business. 6 resolutions were brought to the meeting on the October 22nd meeting, and understanding that there would also be a special meeting called on a date between the 2 meetings to conduct the proceedings of the strategic planning retreat. So if there's a special meeting, isn't that special meeting supposed to be communicated in public underneath the Nebraska Acts? Oh, now here we go. Whereas the commission has participated in a number of events and will continue to do so unless otherwise changed, without any promotional materials or branding. And then they went on about being in the native Omaha state. Because remember, this is back in July. Then they went on and on and on. And here's again. I love when I see this. Whereas the Nebraska Commission on, I'm doing that tongue in cheek. Whereas the Nebraska Commission on African American Affairs is the state's agency tasked with identifying issues facing the Black community of the state and identifying policy-based solutions to resolve said issues. Whereas the Lincoln chapter of the National Advancement of Colored People is hosting their annual event on October 11th. And so they approved the expenditure of $1,500 for the Lincoln Gala. They approved $5,000 for the Omaha Gala. Okay. I don't get it, but if they say that's it, okay. And then they went on with the resolutions, IB Black Girl, large community, promoting women's health, da-da-da-da. And so they have a summit. And resolved that the Nebraska, this is unbelievable, will disperse X amount of dollars for the purpose of sending X members of the commission and staff to the IB Black Girl Policy Summit that was held August 21st to the 22nd. Now, you note that when you get the next minutes, which will be approved, there is no mention of this. So I would like to know who was the members that attended and how much money was dispersed. Well, then it goes on. The Nebraska Commission on African Affairs, and I keep saying this over and over, tongue in cheek, how great it is. Here's another one. Whereas the movement in October in Omaha for racial equality, MORE, is hosting African American History Workshop on October 4th in conjunction with Great Plains Black History Museum, Inclusive Communities, and the Learning Community of Omaha. Well, here we go. They approved the expenditure of $1,500. Discussion followed. Voting A, all except for Miss LaFleur, and abstaining was Roberts. Okay. Then it was, again, another debate on resolutions of attending, here we go, the Black Caucus Foundation, CBCF, hosts their annual summit in Washington, D.C., wrapped around promoting the political needs of the Black community of the United States. Put again. So, okay. Here's where I'm telling you, they do such things, and they just had an audit and were investigated, and you still put out crap like this. The Nebraska Commission approves a disbursement of $400 for the purpose of sending 2 individuals to the annual Legislative Conference of Congressional Black Caucus Foundation. Discussion followed. It was amended to strike $400 for the purpose of sending 2 individuals and inserted $5,000, which was approved right here. But the joke is these are people who are supposed to be on the board, supposed to be for leadership, and are supposed to be doing all of this to bring state agency designated with the role of identifying issues affecting the Black community of our state, and responding to them with policy change. First of all, how would you think you're going to go to Washington for $400? So it didn't even make sense to have that. Sure, you should strike it. $5,000. No breakdown. Okay? Whereas this, so they approved that and it happened. So my question was, well, who attended this? Since you approved this $5,000 and it wasn't in the minutes, so I had to ask the question, and the answer that I got, if we can flip it back over here. And, oops, sorry. That didn't go right where I wanted it to. Okay. The individuals that attended the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation annual summit in D.C. were Tim Clark in his role as the chair of the commission, Lawrence Chatters in his role as chair of the Legislative Affairs Committee, and staffer Connor Nichols. I'm sorry, I said Connors Nichols. I'm thinking of a different group. Staffer Connor Herbert. Okay? So, now let's go back over to here. There we go. That was the end. They adjourned at 7:03. Now, what did you get out of that? That benefited this. Let me get up to that paragraph because I want to read it. Whereas the Nebraska Commission on African American Affairs, hereafter the commission is the state agency designated with the role of identifying issues affecting the Black community of our state and responding to them with policy change. They haven't changed. It's still the same. Same old game, same old game. So, now I would want to go back, to, if I can find it, um, Nebraska. Hold on just a second. Okay, we're back to the website. Find your state representative. Okay, we click it and we get this. Holy smokes. Now, educate yourself on the legislative process. You can click and you get the download of this book. That's been there. Here we go. Quarterly meeting, October 22nd. Click here so you can start the survey. This is out there. Apply to be a commissioner because there's still 2 positions supposedly that are available. And all this will do is take you to the governor's website. All right, so this is what they have. This is all these 5 years practically, and this is the best you can do. It's utterly ridiculous. Now, I don't see no changes here. It's mind-boggling that they just keep on doing this stuff. So let's look at this. They got the executive committee, voted that. Commissioners. So these 2 positions are still vacant, a new American and a young professional. So those are the commission members. I'm not going in to click them so you can see the pictures because they haven't gotten the pictures yet. That's going to be coming up at the Omaha meeting. Okay. My point is this the best you can do in 5 years, folks? It's absolutely, utterly ridiculous. And so if you want to attend this is the meeting agenda. This is the website, which is in pitiful shape. Doesn't have a new director. Spending money without, it's like, did you just not get audited and get an investigation and say how you should be handling things? And you come out with minutes like this? It's utterly ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. So let's just say if you do attend, and we'll see how this financial report is any different from any of the others. Well, that's all for the NCAAA